Yeah, we are now live on YouTube. I know we have got some members of the public here who have requested to speak on the local plan consultation. It's up to you whether you take that at public questions or whether you wait until we get to that point on the item. But I'll leave that to you as the committee to decide. I'll hand it over to you, Chair.
Yeah, fine, absolutely. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being in here. I would propose, if it's okay with you, not to let the members of the public waiting too much, to move the agenda item together with the public participation, so we can be discussing the item, having them and giving them chance to express themselves, and then if they want to stay, they can stay. If they want to leave, they can leave. Please, Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to actually say the same thing, so I would second that, Vice Chair.
Fine. Do we agree on that? Are we all in favour? Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So let's start with apologies for absence. Have we got any?
Chair, I've not received any as of 15 minutes ago. No.
Okay. So let's note this. To receive declaration.
Sorry, I have. I've received a. Sorry, Councillor Michelle Shaw. My apologies.
Councillor Shaw. Yeah.
Chairman, can I give apologies for Andrew Diamond, who's in hospital?
Oh, yeah, I've seen him today. Sorry, I apologize for that. I've seen him admitted in hospital, Councillor Ahmed. Yeah, I can confirm. I was not expecting to see him there, but he was there with hopefully he's gonna get better soon. So to receive declaration of interest from councillors, there are any declarations of interest from officers?
I have none, Chair.
Fantastic. Okay, so public question time and participation. So as we said, we will move to the agenda item relevant to the members of the public that are here willing to speak. Joe, for that reason, unfortunately, I wasn't prepared to chair this meeting because I was expecting the chair to be here. So if you could take the lead on that, because you are certainly more prepared than me on that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have two members of the public who have requested to speak. One is Stephen, who I can see is in the meeting, and one is Don. It's at your discretion. We've got a Mr. Bucock and a Mr. I think it's Serenity or Bill. If they want to speak, that's at your discretion. Also, I think they all want to speak on the local plan, which obviously you're going to discuss for the first time tonight. So if we hand it over to perhaps Stephen was the first one to request. So if you're in agreement, we'll ask Stephen to speak first.
Yep. Sorry, Councillor Adams, please.
Yeah, can I just say, as there are other members of public here, I think it's only right that if they wish to speak, we allow them to speak, please.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I don't see any problem with that. Please, Joe, if you could start, if we could go, please, on the agenda item, and if we will let the members of the public speak.
Yeah. So, Stephen, I'll hand over to you.
All right, thank you. There's obviously two sites have been put forward. Very greenfield, very green belt sites for houses in Oakworth. I actually own a brownfield site off Wide Lane at the top of Oakworth. The site was formerly a quarry and then a landfill. It's benefited from the granting of several planning permissions over the years, including 29 residential chalets and a leisure centre. The concrete base was laid as phase one of that development for the first 5 chalets in the early 90s. This was confirmed by Planning Officer Martin Burke in the application in 2013. In his appraisal, Martin states this site has a number of advantages. In particular, the site is set in the old quarry working below the level of the surrounding woodland. Woodland encircles the site to almost all sides, and there are few public vantage points. He also states there is already a hard standing on the site indicating a former development that's now demolished. He says due to its enclosed nature, the site will have very little impact on the openness of the greenbelt. In this same report, the minerals team confirmed the proposal site is a recorded landfill site. The position, as I see it, is the crematorium and the cemetery to the north and being surrounded by trees would prevent any future sprawl, so it would be kept together. The site was identified by the council, Bradford Council, in their 2013 growth study as being suitable for development due to its history and nature, and confirmed this in the 2015 Schlar description, where the site's known as OA16, and the site lies within a parcel of land identified by the growth study. In the same 2015 Schlar document, it also lays out the shortcomings of the two sites proposed by the council for development. The one on Sykes Lane, now proposed, it states, sloping fields between Keighley Urban Edge and Oakworth. It's an important visual break between two settlements, allowing open views out towards Haworth, and access is limited. Of Pasture Lane, they say the site has already been inspected and rejected by the inspector in the last plan. As I see it, Wide Lane is the only brownfield previous developed site in Oakworth, with historic planning permissions approved for residential development, yet the council refused to acknowledge it. Throughout the local plan, emphasis is placed on the need to reuse previously developed or brownfield site, but instead of allocating the one on Wide Lane, they've identified two virgin greenbelt sites. This to me makes absolutely no sense.
I think Councillor Mounsell wanted to say something on this. No? Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you.
I'd like you to question really the descriptions on the site specifics assessments which the council have put on for every site, and they're just wrong. The descriptions of sites are wrong. The impact of them are wrong. On my site at Wide Lane, they say it's a major rating, red, shouldn't be built on. Yet as you go down, it says based on planning judgment in the same judgment, it says it performs a moderate role. Yet, and on one it says it's moderate, and it goes down to say it's low, and yet still keeps moderate. Yet with the other sites, especially the one off I've lost it. The site off Sykes Lane has major issues all the way through it. It's even highlighted as being major in the first overall summary and purpose of assessment. It says this performs a major role when assessing against the NPPF greenbelt purposes, yet it's still in. And what's a bit more worrying as councillors, this site was linked with AO7 in the Schlar of 2015 as a bigger site, and they've reduced it down to the smaller site. But when it comes into rejected sites in the council's plan, OA7's not in. And I'm wondering if at some point the council, a developer, is going to come along and say that site, oh, there's major access problems, it's going to cost us a lot of money. You're going to have to release the bigger site below it to make it feasible, which has happened, I think, in the case at Bridgehouse Mills at Haworth, where the site has gone basically 2 acres into Greenbelt to make the site viable. And I'm just wondering if there's something happening in the background on that site to do that.
Okay.
And that's my
Thank you.
That's okay.
And that's your view. Yeah. Okay. There was Don that wanted to speak.
Yes.
Please, Don.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my comments are a bit more general than the last participant. First of all, I'd like to say that the local plan in general does seem that Bradford are determined to destroy a lot of green spaces around Keighley. Their focus seems to be on putting housing in the outlying villages and following the trend that's already been created, which was, if you go further towards Bradford, you can see places like Cullingworth, Willesden, and Baildon, where there have been numerous housing developments which basically have destroyed any sense of community or village feeling in those areas. And I noticed that there's very little focus on using brownfield sites in Keighley itself. There is a general point made that they've identified an area, the station area, as an area for future housing. It's called it the Station Quarter, which makes it sound very posh, doesn't it? But we know it isn't. And they say that it's been identified for additional housing growth following further detailed urban capacity analysis. So that's what they say about housing nearer the town centre. And I feel there's an opportunity being missed here because town centres are dying on their feet. I don't think retail is going to come back after this episode in our lives. It's taken a real knock. I think we've seen the end of large retail stores in Keighley. They were already migrating out to retail parks anyway. And I just can't see what would happen to a site like Marks and Spencer's and the shop next door, which is quite a huge area. And there's been no attempt to address using existing buildings or existing sites in town centres, which might be an opportunity to actually bring some life back into town centres. And if I look at the actual impact of this plan on where I live, or more locally, there's, I think it's 9 sites in Parkwood and Longleat, 6 of which are in Longleat, 3 which are in Parkwood. They're all greenfield, 3 of them are green belt. And the impact of this, I've been and looked at all these sites, and quite clearly what will happen is there'll be continuous housing all the way up the hill, out of Keighley, either side of Park Lane, either side of Longleat Lane, right up into Longleat and Thwaites Brow. And you're looking at something like another 340 houses in total in those areas. The strain on the infrastructure is going to be immense, particularly when you look at the access into this area, which is a lot of traffic comes over Coney Bridge, which is quite clearly not up to that. Then a lot of other traffic comes down Parkwood Street, and it's quite congested already. So that's going to put strain on that infrastructure. We already have a problem with people coming through on the Twines up into Thwaites Brow and taking a shortcut across to other areas such as Harden and down into Keighley, but mainly across to Harden and then across into Bradford. No matter how bad the weather gets, they do attempt to come up that road, and it's very, very tricky at the best of times. So we're looking at a great increase in traffic. 300 houses could translate into something like 600 extra cars doing a daily commute. We know that new build housing in general is occupied by younger families rather than, for want of a better word, people of my own generation. We don't tend to go and live in new builds. Young families like new builds is an opportunity. So again, they'll have cars. They'll possibly have 2 family cars. If they have teenagers in the household, they may have 3 or 4. So there's going to be a great strain on traffic infrastructure. Then there's the question of education at Longley School. And add on that the doctor's surgery, which is quite often cited in the local plan that identifying these sites as saying that it's quite a close proximity to medical facilities. Now, the surgery at the top of Longley Lane has not hosted any GP sessions for at least a year. It's only come into use recently as a COVID vaccination centre, and its long-term future is not assured. And I know because I'm also participating in the patient practice group, participation group, that there are plans really afoot to centralise health services into possibly two super health centres in Keighley. And this is a trend that's taken place in lots of towns across the country. I know this because I come from Carlisle, and my own mother, who was 82, used to go round the corner to her doctor's surgery. She now has to get 2 buses to get to the doctor's surgery. All I'm saying is that's a trend. So they can't use the medical facilities as a justification for these housing sites. And I just feel that, as I say, it's an attack on our green spaces. Even if some of them aren't green belt, they're all agricultural land of one sort or another. And some of them that have been identified, the access is going to be quite tricky. I think possibly I've said enough. Thank you.
Chair, just obviously, Councillor Walker is back in the meeting, so I'm sure he'll take. Can I just suggest?
Can I just suggest that we end up, because we have done some modification to the agenda, and rather than explaining everything to Councillor Walker, to get over with that, and then we'll pass to Councillor Walker. There is Councillor Abberton that would like to speak on the matter. So if Councillor Abberton will speak before Mr. Matt Bucko, please.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. When I went to the area planning committee in Bradford, I was actually accompanied by a lady from Airedale Hospital. This was on the supposed I'm sorry, the supposed flats and everything and houses that were being put on Longley. She told us, and she told the committee, that in fact Airedale Hospital could not deal with that amount of new patients. The fact is that Bradford completely disregarded anything that she had to say and anything that I had to say at that particular moment, and they agreed that those houses could be built. Is that those houses and they said that it would actually be a displacement of other people within Keighley. I absolutely disagree with them. So the fact is that they completely disregarded the fact that Airedale Hospital said that they could not deal with that amount of extra new patients. And so I totally agree with you, Mr. Graham. Totally agree with you.
There is a Councillor Mounsell that would like to say something. Councillor, can this wait, and let's speak Mr. Matt Bucko first, and then okay, thank you. Mr. Bucko, please.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to add my two penneth worth in around my interest for the Oakworth planning sites. I don't have a great deal to say. I think it's already been echoed multiple times, but I strongly oppose them due to the green belt access issues and availability of local facilities, spreading across healthcare, schools and shops. Yeah, my objection, I will be going in shortly, and I just wanted to listen in this evening. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much, Matt Bocock. I've only got to do one consideration to do, which I wonder sometimes if it has ever been accounted how many empty houses and flats there are in Ketley, and if there is really the need to build more. But then
Absolutely.
again, that's my opinion.
Sorry, but one final comment there would be around the numbers that Bradford Council are quoting. Do they take into consideration to the number of houses that have recently been built and are currently being built, particularly around Ebor Lane, off Exeter Head area and the Bronte School site? But thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Mansell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to praise in particular Stephen and Matt. We had a meeting up in over Zoom about stuff, and residents are very engaged. I'll get into comments about the local plan when we get to the item, I think. But I just wanted to make sure. I think Stephen in particular made some really, really important points. And obviously, the council will be submitting a response to the local plan. And I think it would just be useful, because I know everything's been said verbally, if those residents email the clerk with their what they've said, just so we can keep a track of that and have that influence the local plan. Otherwise, they're going to make the participation and we may forget it by the time we get onto that, because the points they've made are completely 100% right. And it's just, that's all I wanted to say on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Mansell. I believe Councillor Walker can now take the chairmanship of the meeting back.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bernardini. I had problems logging in and then had to log out and log in again. Before I go on to whereabouts we are on the agenda, Councillor Abberton.
I was actually going to say that there is Bill Sendinity who possibly needed to speak. Bill?
Yeah, thank you for that. As I say, I'm coming in partway through the agenda. So yeah, Mr. Serenity, please. Yeah. You need to unmute.
It'll be bottom left somewhere, Bill.
I've got it. I think. Have I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. I was just interested to hear what you all got to say. I mean, I admit I'm the owner of the field at Pasture Avenue at Oakworth, which at the moment makes me quite unpopular. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. It wasn't me that decided to zone it or not. But what I've been a bit sort of concerned about is the majority of the people who are objecting are those that overlook the site, who are saying it's a bit of a wildlife haven because it hasn't been used, and there's a couple of deer comes on it occasionally, and they want it turning into somewhat wildlife zone, which I find a little bit fascinating. And you know what, I suppose what I'm thinking is, you know, they moved on to the site when those houses were new, because I own that field as well before it was sold. There was a lot of objection for the people on Providence Crescent, which is the development above. But you know, it happened, and that's life. That's how it goes on. That's progress. You know, people do want new houses. They do want to live in villages. I understand what people are saying about living in town and brownfield sites. It's just, I haven't found anybody who's prepared to move on to these sites, you know, or onto a house that's where Marks and Spencer's was. There's very few. And I think, you know, being realistic, I just wanted to say that the site is unused at the moment because it's the only field we've got left. If it wasn't to be developed, then we would have to look at using it for some other purpose. I don't know, maybe we could rent it out for somebody to keep some animals on. But there's no water on the site. There is excellent access because when we sold the field above which was developed, we made sure that there was access in, that drains were made available, there are easements across adjoining land, and it's all available to develop. I do feel sorry for the people who live in the houses that adjoin it. There's nothing I can do about that. But I think, you know, this unrealistic idea that it's some wildlife haven, it is a bit, well,
there's 3 deer come.
You know, it's unrealistic. It isn't going to happen. And I think, yes, it is a natural progression. If it doesn't come this time, it'll come again in a few years' time. You know, it isn't going to go away. It is a natural progression of development of the village. And that's really all I wanted to say, was just to say, you know, that's the way life is. It moves on. People want new houses. I'm not so sure it's just young people that want to buy them. There are older people desperate to buy them, but the houses they vacate are small enough for first-time buyers to buy. It's just life. That's how it works. And there's, you know, anybody who thinks there's a wildlife haven there, it ain't going to work. So I won't sort of prolong it, but that's all I've got to say, really. So thanks a lot.
Chair, before we bring anybody else in, do you mind if I just kind of sum up where we are before we bring anybody else in? And
that would be helpful, yes, please.
Perhaps give you some advice as to what you should do next. So I think obviously Mr. Stephen, I haven't met many last names, sorry, Stephen. I've noted down that your site was 0A16 in the SHLA. SHLA is the Strategic House Land Availability Assessment, which is the document that Bradford used to inform the local plan. Obviously, it's up to you as members, but if you are of the view that that is a site that should be looked at again, that could form part of our consultation response. Stephen, I assume you've submitted it to the call for sites, which is also up at the minute. They are calling for sites. So
I'm not allowed to put it in the call for sites because they already know about it.
Right, okay, that's fine. So we can again, up to you members, but we could probably try and deal with that through our consultation. Mr. Graham has raised issues about green space, which I will come on to shortly. And Mr. Bucott, again, it asked concerns over access, school and healthcare. And obviously, Mr. Serenity at the end talking about the need for a development. Again, that's up to you as to members what will form your response. I do think it's worthwhile at this point, you have your first discussion about what things you want to have in your response that I can then go away and formulate. It's worth pointing out that I circulated 3 documents to all councillors. They have split Keighley into 3 areas. They have separated out East Morton, and they've called it a local service centre. They've separated out Oakworth and call that a local service area. And then the rest of Keighley is part of the Keighley town, and that is one of the principal towns in the local plan. I've had a look at the entire sites in our parish area in terms of development sites, because obviously I think Stephen mentioned through the plan it constantly mentions brownfield first and trying to develop previously used sites. So of the proposed sites that are up for development in East Morton, Oakworth and Keighley, there are 15 on brownfield sites. There are 25 on greenfield sites, and there are 9 on what is currently greenbelt sites. So you've got 34 housing sites, which are going to be first time use sites, and only 15 on brownfield sites. So obviously that's something else you may want to consider as part of your consultation responses. The other thing to look at, particularly for Keighley, in terms of in the plan, there is the town centre boundary in terms of what the local plan will constitute. Is the town centre, is it right? Has it taken in the right area? But again, that's up to you as members to look at. In Oakworth, interestingly, the local plan indicates that there is a deficiency in allotments in Oakworth. Obviously, you are the allotment authority, so that is perhaps something you want to consider. The East Morton one, it is one greenbelt site, and it is 10 properties, so you could perhaps say that is less impactful than the sites in Oakworth and in Keighley. What you may want to do on the East Morton site is it's not necessarily the fact that that site will have up to 10 properties on it. It's the impact that could then have on the fields around it. Because what you don't want it to do, you don't want that to become a gateway development site into further green belt, and then you get urban sprawl. So you may want to frame your response around that site as the importance of design layout to ensure that you can't have that urban sprawl. And the 3 documents that I sent out, I've gone to all councillors. Some councillors have sent in their own comments in terms of the issues that they want to raise, which now a matter of, I just thought I'd set the scene for you, which now a matter of you as members to give you some direction so I can go away, do a draft response for you to bring back to you next time. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Clark. Can I just confirm, having come to the meeting late, whereabouts on the agenda we are? And a second question, whether we have anybody else to speak under public question time, because I was advised there would be several people.
All the speakers have spoken, Chair. We have literally brought forward item 8 to the very start. So we have done declarations of interest, and we're now at item 8. We haven't done anything else. So we've taken item 4 and item 8 together, for want of a better description.
That's fine. Okay, thank you very much for that. Right, so apologies again for arriving at the meeting late. That was something beyond my control. Item 5 then, minutes for decision.
Sorry, Chair, do you mind if we just have the discussion about your thoughts on the local plan now, so then we can deal with that before we move on to anything else, and then members of the public can perhaps leave if they wish. That's if anybody's got anything to say on it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Any comments from the committee? Councillor Abberton.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was actually just wanting to know whereabouts Bill was talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Serenity.
Chair, I believe it's oh, sorry, Bill is there.
Yeah, it was Pasture Avenue at Oakworth, which is off Providence Lane.
Yeah.
He said, I mean, Pasture Avenue was built, I think, about 18, 19 years ago. Could be even be 20 years now. But it's the next site to it.
Okay. Thank you very, very much indeed, Bill. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from committee or Councillor Morsel? Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it's interesting, this, isn't it? Because I do actually agree with a lot of the points that Stephen has raised, as well as I think it was Matt. But at the same time, I think Mr. Serenity has a point too. Obviously, this is progress. You need to somehow, be moving forward. and where do we go? But however, my own view would be, yes, town centre, retail, the dying, yeah. And we do need to find a different use for our town centres, and that could include some out-of-box thinking and radical ways, whichever way, yeah, to come up with something. But housing would be one. And I would also say brownfield sites should be explored fully first before we even go into the greenfield sites.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yep. Thank you for that, Councillor Akhtar. Do we have any other comments on this? I'm slightly at a disadvantage here, not having heard the discussion. Is it the feeling of the committee that we should debate this and produce a response now? Or given that we have a fortnight before the next meeting, would it be possible to have either an extraordinary meeting or a small group to discuss this in detail? Councillor Abbott. And Councillor Adams.
Number one, I would like a small group to discuss this, but equally, I would like an extraordinary meeting to discuss it. I would bow to Councillor Julie Adams as well.
Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I would suggest that we call an extraordinary meeting. I don't agree that we should have a small group meeting. We are a committee of 8 people, and the committee should meet as a planning committee without excluding members. You know, it should be a group meeting of the full committee, and the only way to do that is to call an extraordinary meeting.
Right, thank you, Councillor Abberton and Councillor Adams for that suggestion. Joe, can we, sorry, Mr. Clark, can we note that, please?
I'm just looking at the diary.
Yeah.
You've got another meeting on the 23rd, which is the day before
submission. Yeah.
My plan was to bring you based upon on your debate tonight, was to bring you a draft response to that meeting for approval. The earliest you could have the meeting would be next week. I've already got a meeting Monday, a meeting Tuesday, and a meeting, well, you all have a meeting booked in on Thursday. So that leaves you only next Wednesday. I think if you can give me some direction as to, if not, obviously concerns have been raised by Stephen, by Don, and by Matt, and obviously Bill has raised some points. If you're comfortable that I can draft a response based on that alongside the responses from other members, I don't see the need for the meeting. I can bring you a draft response on the 23rd. But if you want one, we absolutely will have one, but it would have to be next Wednesday, the 24th. Sorry, next Wednesday, the 17th. Sorry, a week ahead.
Right, Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea of the clerk. He will have taken notes on this meeting and he's been here from the start. Mm-hmm. So I think if he does do some sort of draft response and send it to all members, we can add or take away, and if necessary, not necessarily have a extraordinary council, meeting where we're all trying to fit it in. Maybe we could have an informal meeting and encourage all members to attend. That way we're not tied to times. We could agree a time maybe during the day or something.
Right. Obviously that has implications for anybody who works during the day, but as a committee generally, Councillor Abbott, and I'll come to you in a second. As a committee generally, are we in agreement with what Councillor Adams has suggested? An informal meeting, but for the clerk to input into that and for people to make individual contributions as well. Councillor Abberton. Sorry, yeah. Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, I think it's just you meet again 2 weeks' time tonight. That is when you will sign off the final consultation.
Sure.
And I'll base it on what the comments you've had tonight. Obviously, I've also read the 3 documents relating to Keighley. Obviously, there's particular concerns around SP5, which is the green belt. And I can take comments with that. At 7:30 tonight, if we are finished here, I've been invited to join a meeting at via Zoom. I think it's a group of residents in East Morton, I think it is, or Riddles. And again, I will try and take feedback from that, and that will perhaps influence what our response will be.
Okay, so Councillor Mansell.
Yeah, really simple. I think that's a good idea. Promote it to other councillors. Tell them to get the comments in by a certain date. Joe can filter through that. Have the informal meeting, a consultation. Bring up any issues. Job's good and 23rd sorted.
Thank you for that, Councillor Mansell. Can I remind you there is a vacancy on this committee at the moment? Can you go ahead with that, please, Mr. Clark?
Happy to, Chair. Yeah, if that's what the committee wants me to do. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Adams.
Yes, Chair. Can I just remind you that you need to propose, have that seconded and take a vote on it, please?
Yes, certainly. Can I have a proposer? That's Councillor Adams, seconded by Councillor Bernardini. All in favour of that course of action, please show. Okay, I think that's abstentions or against? No? Okay, thank you. That will go on to revert to agenda item 5, minutes for decision. Members are asked to approve the minutes of the Planning Committee held on 23rd of February 2021. Copy attached. Councillor Abberton.
Just proposed.
Before I take that, are there any other comments from anybody on that, or do I have a seconder to approve those minutes? I'll second them. Okay, all those in favour?
I'm sorry, actually, Councillor Julie Adams actually seconded them straight off.
So who proposed them?
I did.
Okay, so proposed by Councillor Abberton, seconded by Councillor Adams. All in favour? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 6, committee comments on planning applications for decision. We have, I think, 14. 16, I beg your pardon. Right, number 1, 21-00016, Land Wildfell, Slaymaker Lane, Oakworth. This is a new dwelling, bracket, site address details amended. I think I'm right in saying that when it was originally came to this council, it was marked as Backwright Avenue, which is on the opposite side of the road from Slaymaker Lane. So I'm assuming this is just correcting that information. Anybody have any comments on this?
Yeah, Councillor Abberton has hand up in case you can't see her.
I can't, but Councillor Abberton?
Okay, so I would like to propose that we accept the site address details, but we do not accept the new dwelling.
Thank you. Yes, my recollection was that when the minutes were initially submitted for the previous meeting, it was marked as development rather than overdevelopment, which is what I think we were saying. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Are you proposing that then, Councillor Abberton?
I certainly am, sir.
And I will second that. All those in favour? Again, I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, I can't see, so.
This is just, I'm sorry, Chair. This is just to accept the site address details. This is nothing to do with the actual house itself.
I appreciate that.
Chair, you just need to, sorry to jump in, you've considered this once before, that the application was incorrect because of the wrong address. The response you said last time was, I think you were concerned about overdevelopment.
Yep.
if you're happy, I can just resubmit the same response that you did last time, unless you now want to change your minds on the development.
No, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for that guidance.
Can I just say, Mr. Clark, that this actual application is saying brackets, site address, details amended. So we're actually saying, yes, that's okay, but we're not saying anything more to the actual house.
Chair, I'll respond, obviously through you. Our response is based on the application. It's the only thing that's changed since the last one is the incorrect address. Our response is the same, which is you don't believe it should be approved and you think it's overdevelopment.
Yep.
To be honest, the address is, in terms of your response, the address is not the important factor.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So in effect, we're noting this rather than voting on it. Okay, are we okay to go on to the next one? 21000708 11.
Councillor Adams has got a hand up.
Again, sorry, can't see her. Councillor Adams?
Yeah, we're not actually okay to go ahead and go with it. You asked for votes for accepting the site address and not the plans. We're actually voting to either go for the plans at that address or not go for the plans at that address. 3 people voted to go for the change of address, but you didn't ask if there was any abstentions, and it was very, very confusing. The clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were voting on the change of address, but still voting for the plans for the house build.
No, that was, with respect, that was the opposite of what Councillor Abberton said.
No, well, can the clerk just correct us or tell us, please, because you've confused me completely.
Yeah, I took the vote. I took what you voted for, and there was a majority. Is that you are still, your response is the same. You are still against the application for overdevelopment, and you've noted the correct address on the application.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a majority, but Councillor Walker didn't ask if anybody was against, and he also didn't ask if anybody was abstaining. 3 people voted against the plans, but what about the other 2 participants of this meeting?
Right.
Obviously, you can ask them. We don't record abstention.
I'm just trying to follow proper procedure.
There was a majority.
Votes for, votes against, abstentions.
Jay, you can take the vote. The majority was in favour, but you can still take the vote.
Let's do that then for simplicity's sake. So we're going with number 1, 210016. Those in favour of accepting the changed address but still opposing the development. Is that correct? Before we go to a vote, Councillor Adams?
Yeah, that was right.
Right. Those in favour of accepting the change of address but still refusing, continuing with our opposition to the development. All those in favour, please show. Can you count for me, Mr. Clark, please?
4, Chair.
Okay. Those against?
None, Chair.
1.
1.
Abstentions?
2.
Okay. So that's now 7, which I think is correct. May we carry on now to?
Yes, Chair. You can move on.
Thank you. To construct a small 2-storey extension to the rear of the existing property at 11 Ridgeway Mount, which is obviously within my ward. Comments on this, please? Again, I can only see.
Abberton has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Abberton.
I thought this was actually really rather sweet. They had this lovely comment from their next door neighbours at number 9, Ridgeway Mount, to say that they have absolutely no objection whatsoever, and that they fully support their lovely neighbours that they have known for 7 years.
Yep.
To be perfectly honest, it's a very, very small little thing, and well done, lovely, very nice.
Okay, any other comments before I come in? In the absence of any other comments, yes, this is obviously within my ward and several doors away from somebody who I know quite well. When I drove past it to have a look, they both have back patios, if you like, looking over the valley. I note the comment that Councillor Abberton's already made, and I see no problem at all with this. I'm happy to propose this. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Abberton? All those in favour of accepting?
That's the majority, Chair. Chair, can you just bear with me? I am double hatted, so I'm also the building caretaker. And I've just got to let somebody in downstairs. If you can just bear with me for one moment, sorry.
Yes, sure. Okay.
Should we do a sing song?
I'm
not in the mood.
I'm assuming this meeting is streaming, so possibly not.
You have no authority here.
Obviously.
I'm back, Chair, thank you.
All right, thank you. Out of breath, but back. Okay, so we have approved that one. Is that correct? 11 Ridgeway Mount. The next one, sorry, again, to go through the letter of the law, you said there was a majority, Mr. Clark, votes against. I can't see everybody, so, or abstentions. Again, I can't see other than Councillor Monsell.
It was actually a unanimous vote, Chair.
Thank you, but what the clerk said was majority, which is why I was being correct and trying to do things the right way. Okay, thank you. Number 3, 00686, 1 Dimples Lane, East Morton, which I think is opposite the Busfield Arms. Demolition of existing garage and construction of 1 bungalow within the grounds of the existing house with the addition of off-street parking for both properties. Any comments on this one, please?
Councillor Abberton has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Abberton.
Yes, we've had this one before, and I believe that we rejected it. The fact is that if you look at the actual site, the proposed dwelling is rather larger than the existing dwelling, and the existing dwelling is a semi-detached. We understand that they have sold off that land There is possible contamination if you read the reports. And the fact is that the person who is actually putting the proposal through doesn't actually live there yet. So I find it very, very distressing, actually. I'm sure that Bradford will probably accept it, but I don't believe that they should.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments?
Councillor Dowes, Chair, in case you can't see him.
Yeah, Councillor Dowes, please.
Thanks, Chair. I can't say this is what I think should be done with housing to create more. If we can fit them in already with housing, we don't have to go building in nice green fields and everything. So I have no problem for it. I think we need to start doing this. It's just wasted gardens going to waste. There's no building there already. Let's get it knocked down and house put up.
Okay. Any other comments? I saw the thumbs up from Councillor Adams. Any other comments for or against before we go to vote on this? Councillor Adams.
Other than no, I would just propose that, well, I would propose to vote for this. So
I'll second.
Okay. Right. All those in favour? Against? Gonna have to help me again, Mr. Clerk.
Just one against, Chair, so far.
And abstentions.
And one abstention. It's passed.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. Right. A rather lengthy one here for something that I expected there were going to be people speaking to this one today, but I don't think that's been the case. Effectively removal of conditions 2, 3 and modification of existing, of condition 4 for 38 Scott Lane, Riddleston.
Yeah, there's no plans for this, I'm afraid.
Councillor Adams.
I think if there's no plans for it, it's impossible for us to vote for or against. So I suggest we defer it.
Absolutely.
I disagree. Thank you. Absolutely disagree. So if you go back to the original plans, and if you then understand exactly what they are trying to do, all of those conditions are still there. Okay, so the first condition, yeah, what they call number 2, detached annex hereby permitted shall only be occupied in conjunction with and incidental to the occupation of the existing dwelling, and shall at no time be severed and occupied as a separate independent dwelling unit. Mm-hmm. So this was actually a granny annex. Yeah. The reason for that, which Bradford actually did, and what they have said, the establishment of an independent residential unit would give rise to an over-intensive use of the site and lead to an unsatisfactory relationship between independent dwellings, and according to policies UR3 and D1 of the replacement utilitary development plan. So the next condition, the lower ground floor of the annex hereby approved shall only be used for storage purposes as shown on the approved plan, and this space shall not be converted to habitable accommodation without the prior written permission from the local planning authority. The reason for that, to ensure that the scale of the accommodation in the annex remains auxiliary and the as the establishment of an independent residential unit would give rise to an over-intensive use of the site and lead to an unsatisfactory relationship between independent dwellings and to accord with policies UR3 and D1, blah, 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 blah. Number 3.
Oh, Councillor Abberton, sorry, can I interrupt you? Councillor Adams has her hand up.
I'm sorry, Chair.
I'm sorry. Can I actually finish, please?
Councillor Abberton, you actually interrupted me when I was speaking anyway. The chair, you said that you didn't agree, but the chair didn't ask you to speak. Now, there are members at this meeting who may not have been at the meeting when this came through. And I think it's very unfair to expect us to vote on something that we cannot see. So can I again suggest that we defer this until we can see the plans and we can make a proper decision based on the facts in front of us?
Before I come back to you, Councillor Abberton, can I ask the other members of the committee present at this meeting if that is something they would agree with? I feel we probably should at this stage.
I agree.
Okay, Councillor Abberton, can I come back to you? Councillor Abberton, can I come back to you?
Carry on, whatever. You know, I was actually trying to tell you what had happened in the previous application, and I was trying to tell you the reasons why they said no, the reasons why they gave those conditions.
Yeah,
You carry on. You know, I'm terribly sorry. I thought that I was actually doing something really rather worthwhile.
yeah, I appreciate that, Councillor Abberton, but I've looked at the details as well, including going back a number of years to previous applications, and I'm going to decide based on what the committee are feeling at the moment that we will go with Councillor Adams. We will defer this matter until we have the plans to look at again. So can I ask you to propose that, Councillor Adams? Oh, Councillor Akhtar beat you to it. Proposed by Councillor Akhtar, seconded by Councillor Adams.
Sorry, I was not proposing anything, to be honest. I have to agree with Councillor Abberton. She has got a point, because this is something that's already been done. Yeah, it's already there, but these conditions are attached to it. All they are doing, they're trying to make it into a house now, totally separate to what was initially agreed. And I would have said the conditions that were there originally should remain there, because we've done this sort of thing in the past. Granny Annex, yeah, what people did was they got the permission for that, and then at sometimes later, like this one, they try to remove these conditions and make it into a separate habitable house. So really, that's all you need to decide. Does it need to, yeah?
Thank you very much, Councillor Akhtar.
Sorry, Councillor Abberton.
I really appreciate that, Councillor Akhtar. Thank you.
Right, can I just come in? I should say at this point that the property is currently for sale. It is advertised as a 3-bedroom house with a 1-bedroom dwelling in the background, in the back garden of the property. I'm not going to allow any more discussion on this now. We should go to a vote on this, that we defer it to a future meeting. I take on board what Councillor Abberton has said, what Councillor Akhtar has said, and also what Councillor Adams has suggested. So we will now defer this item proposed by Councillor Adams. I will second that. All those in favour of deferring this item in the absence of any plans? I can see.
All in favour?
Against? I'm assuming Councillor Abberton, Councillor Akhtar, but entirely up to you.
Abstaining.
One against, one abstain.
So that still leaves one person, I think.
No, that's everybody, Chair. We'll bring that back to you next time with the plans.
Okay, right. Thank you for that. If we can move on now. Could I ask Councillor Bernardini to take over for the next item, because I have somewhere else I need to be briefly. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you. So if we go to the next item, a single story side extension. Single story side extension, yep. Done because.
Chair, there's nobody with their hands up at the moment.
Yep, okay, no, I was trying, yeah, on Oakland Lane in Kitley. So we are looking at single story side extension. Can we see the plans? Councillor Robertson, please. Councillor Robertson.
I have no objection to this one.
Yep. Any other comments?
Councillor Dow's chair, in case you can't see him.
Please, Councillor Dow's.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have no problem either. I think there's plenty of room round. I think it'd be somewhat what they need. There's loads of garden, loads of space. There's no problem from me.
Yep. Okay.
Not only that, it will not be overlooked by anybody. Absolutely have to know. I know exactly where it is. It's no problem.
Right. So we go. I mean, I'm happy to propose it for. I'm happy to propose that we go seconder. Okay, Claire, Councillor Robertson. Okay, all in favor? Any against?
No against.
Any abstentions?
No, that's everybody, Chair.
Thank you. So that's passed. Thank you.
Councillor Walker's back, Chair.
Yep.
I would say I had to go and let somebody in, but that wouldn't be true. I'm assuming that was item 5. So number
Yes.
5. Number 6, first floor rear extension, 28 Dale View Road, Longley. I may not be correct in saying this, but I have a feeling we may have looked at this one previously. Any comments on this, please?
Councillor Abberton, in case you can't see a chair.
I can't, and yes, please, Councillor Abberton.
I have no objection.
Any other comments on this one?
Councillor Adams, Chair.
Councillor Adams.
I would just concur with that and propose that we go to the vote, please.
Okay, that's fine. So we have proposer and seconder, all in favour?
Yep, unanimous, Chair.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Bernardini, for helping there. Right, number 7, 5 Woodlands View. Removal of existing sunroom and decking and proposed new ground floor and part lower ground floor rear extension with a reduced area of decking. This is down Providence Lane in Oakworth, and there are a number of responses, including one of Woodlands TPO from Simon Keenan. I can see Councillor Abberton, just bear with me a second, and also a WYCA response. Any comments, please? Councillor Abberton.
I have several objections to this one. Number 1 is the tree report with Simon Keenan. He is trying to deal with this. He understands that the tree is very, very close to what they're trying to do. And he is very concerned about the tree roots. And the fact is that if they disturb the tree roots, then that tree will fall. Those trees they all have TPOs. The other problem that I have, if you actually look at this property and you look at how close those properties are to each other, there is no access from that particular avenue. So the only way that they would be able to get in would be up the back of that house, up this road, if you see it here, just below. All of this is completely tree lined. Those trees, it is actually a wood. It looks as if it isn't a wood, but it is a wood. And the fact is that they realistically have no access to the back of that building.
Okay, thank you for that.
From that, I would actually say that they cannot do what they are trying to do.
Okay, thank you. Before I come in, any other comments from anyone?
Nobody's got a hand up, Chair.
Okay, thank you. My comment on this would be that I think I was right in saying that Simon Keenan's report suggested some further investigation.
Yes, indeed it does.
And the additional thing I would say is that the rule of thumb that I remember about trees is the height of the tree normally has a root run of at least 1.5 times and possibly twice. So it's of some concern, I would suggest.
It does actually depend on the tree, but this is actually a very big tree, and it is, I believe it's either an ash or an oak. So it has a very big root base.
Yeah. Okay, so based on that, if there's no other comments, my feeling is that we're not likely to approve this one. Can I have a proposer to either accept or refuse? Councillor Abberton.
I would like to refuse this application on the basis of the tree report and the fact that he needs further investigation, and also on the access for the work.
I'm happy to second that. All in favour then of refusing this application for those grounds? Or on the
unanimous, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right. Number 8. 2-storey rear and part side extension, 23 Lane Ends, Combe Road, Oakworth. So I don't know if Councillor Mawson's still with us, but in his parish. Any comments on this? There is a heritage statement saying that they have no objection and that it would actually, I think I'm right in saying, would improve the overall outlook of the house. Or, yeah, Councillor Abberton. Again, I don't know. Is Councillor Mawson still with us?
He is, but he hasn't indicated to speak, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Abberton.
Okay, so I have absolutely, in principle, no problem with this one at all, except that if you actually look at the plans, there are 2 steps up to go into the porch. Right now, the porch is a very sort of easy structure. However, what I'm trying to say is that I would query the footings where they're taking from the porch to do 2 floors up. I'm just querying the footings. Sorry, I'm not an architect and I'm not a builder, but the fact that they've had a porch there was quite easy. I'm sorry, I'm not making very much sense, but I know what I'm trying to say. I just don't want it to disappear down into a big hole. I have, in principle, no problem with this at all. I'm just querying the fact that they have enough footings and things like that. I think that Councillor McDowse might help me out here.
I was going to say, we are very fortunate that on this committee we have Councillor Dowse.
Building control will probably regulate all that with whatever they're going to do, so they'll be watching it. I'd have said, well, they've got to pass it off, so.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
One of the advantages of this committee, we cover a wide spread. Right, so on that basis, sorry.
I'm sorry, Chair, that Councillor Adams wanted to say.
Chair, that I have to, yeah, Councillor Adams wants to speak.
Again, sorry, I haven't been able to say it. Councillor Adams, sorry about that.
Can I just, I mean, the information is quite concise, and everybody seems to, the people who know what they're talking about seem to have no problem with this at all. So can I propose that we go ahead and vote for this, either for or against? I would propose that we vote for it.
Okay, so that's proposed by Councillor Adams, seconded by myself. All in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Right, 2 Low Mill Lane, Keighley. This, I think I'm right in saying, is the corner that goes down to what used to be, is it the K2 nightclub? There are 32 documents relating to this. It's for a 4-storey building providing 24 apartments, use class C3, and 3 units with flexible commercial uses. It's on the corner of Low Mill Lane, right next to the station. There are water and drainage issues, and there are a couple of other reports which have also been submitted. Can I point out this is an MAF? So any comments on that, please? There is also a rather nice example of what it might look like. Comments, please. I can see Councillor
Aberton.
Yeah. Can we take Councillor Dowse first this time, please? Councillor Dowse.
What an ugly building, I've got to say. It just looks horrendous. You know, you've got something and you're coming into Keighley and you just, it's horrendous personally, but I just think that's first thing you see. It's straight on. It's not something I like personally, but that's not what matters, but it looks terrible.
It's what matters.
Councillor Aberton, sorry, through me, please.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah. Any other comments? Councillor Aberton, you were going to speak anyway, so.
If I can, Chair, I absolutely, completely concur with Councillor Dowse. It is absolutely horrendous. The fact that it has a flat roof completely doesn't work with our area of Keighley. Everything by the side of it also has lovely slate roofs. You've still got the Victoria down there, you know, everything else around there. It's just wrong, completely wrong. I would be very happy if they would put it into lovely stone with mullion windows and things like that, and a pitched roof. And then I'd probably say, absolutely, what an absolute delight. But as it is at the moment, nah, no way.
Okay. Before I come in, any comments from other councillors? Councillor Dowse.
It just don't fit in, does it? It just, you know, me personally, it just don't fit in with surroundings around or anything. So why you'd want to stick some, paint it bright red and it just something shocking.
Yeah, red works for me. Unbelievably. Sorry, private joke. Any other comments, Councillor Abberton?
I'm sorry, but this to me really resonates with a cityscape. We are not a city. We are a Victorian town, a mill town, and it doesn't work for us.
Okay, thank you. Having, I'm aware that time is going on, but having just mentioned the Victoria Hotel, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but hoardings are going up round it at the moment. So they're obviously beginning to do something with that, which of course was approved by Bradford. Right, so I would suggest the motion is to reject this one.
Chair, can I just clarify? I assume you're not against the residential development in the area, you're just against the design, and that might be helpful if you perhaps give a hint.
I think, yeah, several grounds. The street scene generally, which is atypical, shall we say, for this building, and also the concerns about drainage and water issues. Councillor Abberton, is this relevant to where we're going?
Yeah. I'm actually concurring with everybody. You see, in principle, yes, I think we should have some flats there. I think it would be great, but we must have a much better design, much better design that can attract people in.
Okay, so I'm proposing that we reject this, first of all, on the not fitting in with the street scene such as it is, but also because there are issues with water and drainage. I'm proposing we reject this application. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dowse. All in favour of rejecting?
That's 1, 2, 3, 4 in favour, Chair.
Against? Or abstentions?
1 abstention, Chair.
2, I think. Oh, sorry, Councillor Abberton, we're actually in the vote at the moment.
No, I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Have we got that then? Thank you. So go on to the next one, which is 15 Goose Coat Lane, detached dwelling with attached garage. Just up the road from where I used to live. Yeah. Any comments on this, please?
Sorry, Chair, just give me 1 moment.
Okay, thank you.
It's just has to go slow. Thank you.
Okay, it says 15 Goose Coat Lane. This is actually sort of adjacent to Bowland Court, which is a small development of about 4 properties at the top of the road. Any comments, please?
Councillor Abberton has a hand up, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Abberton, please.
Okay, so we had this on Tuesday, 24th of November. We passed it. I was against it. I'm still against it. And Bradford was against it. They decided that it was actually too big a property at the back of number 15 Goose Coat Lane, and they weren't happy with the access. I'm still not happy with the access, and I'm still not happy with what they're trying to do.
Right.
It is infill and it is overdevelopment. Up to you guys.
Sorry, Councillor, you said that this was, we already discussed this in November.
Yep.
And that we approved it, but you, sorry, we approved it, but you voted against,
Yeah,
and then Bradford rejected it.
yeah.
Can I then ask the clerk why this is coming back to us?
I assume, Chair, it's been resubmitted.
It has been resubmitted.
They can try again if they wish.
Right. Any comments on this, please?
Councillor Dow's, Chair.
Councillor Dowse, sorry, yes.
Again, I think these projects should, there's big garden space that's wasted. It may be slightly too big for where it is, but I think I thought it were a good idea to use all these spaces up. I can't see a problem personally, but I'd be for it.
Right. Can I ask further comments from other members of the committee?
Councillor Adams.
Councillor Adams.
Can I just suggest again that we go to the vote?
Oh, for heaven's sake.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that's
sorry.
okay. Deputy Mayor, thank you. That's okay. Right. We will, if there are no other comments, we'll go to a vote on this one. Can I also just say, Mr. Clerk, please, I think the protocol for this committee is that everyone is muted except the chair and yourself.
That's correct, Chair. Yep, and people put their hands up if they wish to speak, and they'll be called in.
To avoid any difficulties.
I should, sorry, Chair, I should remind all members as well, this meeting is being live streamed. There could be public watching. You all have a duty under your member code of conduct, and it is your responsibility, not mine, to bear that in mind.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to avoid. Okay, so the proposal from Councillor Adams is, I'm sorry, Councillor Aberton, is this?
I just wanted to apologise. I'm very sorry.
Fine. Okay, accepted. Right, the proposal from Councillor Adams is that we approve this application as we did with the previous one. A seconder for that, I'll second. All in favour of approving?
1, 2, 3, 4 in favour, Chair.
And against?
1 against.
And abstentions?
1 abstention. Thank you, Chair.
Can I also say that Councillor Walsall, in case people didn't see it, has left the meeting? Right. So that one is refused. I beg your pardon, is approved. I beg your pardon. Right, number 11. Airedale House, Sand Street, Keighley. Change of use from commercial B2 to 4 residential apartments. This one has been with us before. And given its location, Councillor Akhtar, can you remind us of what you said the previous time?
No, I think there was quite a few issues with it the previous time. The police were involved and everybody. Report from them wasn't favourable. Is it the same property? Is that what they're doing, changing it to 4 apartments now, I think?
Appears to be, yes. Airedale House.
What's that? The shutter on the left. Just that one. Oh, yeah. What's this?
I think that's next door, Chair. I don't think that's part. Reinstate previous opening to allow it. Yeah, not very clear. I think that's just the neighbouring building.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. But to be honest, same position still applies.
Yeah. I think that's my feeling as well.
Chair.
Yeah. I can see Councillor Aberton's wishing to speak. Sorry, Mr. Clerk, can I just remind you that we mute everybody until they speak?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, Councillor Aberton.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, we have had this one before. However, I believe that at that time it was either 6 or 8 properties, not the 4. To my mind, it looks an awful lot better than it did before. I understand that Councillor Akhtar had queries with parking and things like that. We were thinking about that they might go behind what is the Conservative Club behind there for some parking. I wasn't entirely sure about that, but it is certainly less properties than they originally had said to us.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments on this before we go to a vote on it? My feeling personally is that it is a quite short dead end, and there are already issues with that. As Councillor Akhtar has already said, I think that the particular issues, especially with the police, have not changed, even though perhaps the design and style and the offer of change of use has changed. Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, previously it was 2 apartments or flats above it, and there was something else at the bottom which was going to be used for commercial.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Now they are intended to turn the entire thing into apartments now. So
apartments, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was to do with the commercial side of it that was an issue with the police, I think. And but only issue I have is parking there.
Yeah.
They need to provide parking, or they're going to use the Churchill House parking. If they're going to use that, then fair enough. But not sure they are.
Councillor Dowse.
Surely you can't expect somebody else to park their cars for a building. So obviously, I think you can't expect anybody's property to be used for somebody else's property to park on. So I don't think that's appropriate. But we do need these places. I can see that. But like I say, if there's an issue with parking, there's nowhere for them to park, is there? So I do think that you can never expect to park in somebody else's place. I think that's totally wrong. Someone else owns a property, and this property should have its own parking if there's going to be people with cars. So, and if they can't do that, obviously, they're going to have to find an alternative out.
Right. Any other?
Bernardini has his hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Bernardini.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if I had to buy a house, the first thing that I would look if there is at least 1 parking space for me. Just that.
I think that only applies to new builds, doesn't it? But yeah, okay. Any other comments? Right. I sense there's some division within the committee here, but should we go to a vote on it? Can I have a proposer in relation to this? In other words, to approve it or to refuse it?
We have deathly silence, Chair.
In which case, I would suggest that we approve it, but with the reservation, with the comment that parking may still be an issue. Everybody happy with that?
Councillor Adams is seconding, Chair.
Okay, all in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favour, Chair.
Okay, against?
1 against, and that's everybody, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Let me write that down in a second.
Okay, I'm conscious that time is passing on and we need to get things finished. Number 12, 27 Staincliff Drive. This, I think, is on the new Barratt development. I think it's the sort of spine road on the new Barratt development in Braithwaite. So this is for single-story wraparound extension. Any comments on this? This is a relatively new build. It's probably been up 3-4 years, if that.
Councillor Abberton and Councillor Bernardini, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Abberton.
I would like to propose that we refuse this one, since it is pretty much boundary to boundary, and they've only just bought the place.
I think, yeah, Councillor Bernardini, sorry.
Yes, I would agree with Councillor Abberton, and also I would say that this area is always at high risk of flooding. We had quite a lot of residents complaining that basically the gardens of the houses are flooding, and that not much is being done to solve that problem. So there have always been problems. Also a lot, yes or no, I agree with Councillor Abberton. I will propose to vote against that.
Okay, just before we go to the vote, I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, could you put it back to the
Dow's
previous-
chair.
Sorry?
You've got Councillor Dow's with his hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Dowes.
Thanks, Chair. I think this is definitely overdevelopment within an area, so I totally agree with Councillor Abberton and Councillor Bernardini. I think it's just overbuilt. It's too much, and it's a new build. So,
Thank you, Councillor Dowes. That was the point I was going to make. The previous shot that you had up, Mr. Clark, it looked like a huge amount of overdevelopment. So I'm quite happy to recommend that we refuse this one. We have had a similar one on Staincliffe Drive a few weeks ago. And I think at that time, the point was made, if you're moving into a new house and you then want to extend it, why would you not have just moved into a larger house in the first place? But I'm happy to recommend refusal on this one. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bernardini or Councillor Dowse? Fight amongst yourselves. All in favour of refusing this application?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Right, on we go. Coppergate, 19 Braithwaite Road, Keighley, reserved matters application requesting consideration of access, appearance, landscaping and scale. I think with ones like this, Mr. Clark, can you just advise me? I think normally we note this, but don't go into huge detail on it.
Chair, if it's just reserved matters, obviously they've already got outline planning, so it's just, you can talk about the reserved matters, but the principle of whether they should or shouldn't develop there is gone. It's about layout, exactly, etc.
Any comments on this before we note it and move on? Everybody happy with that?
Showing the hand, Chair.
Okay. So that one is noted. As the clerk says, the decision's already been taken. Number 14, single story front extension, 1 Dockroid Lane, Oakworth. Any comments on this one? Again, I can't see any hands.
I think Councillor Abberton has a...
Sorry, Councillor Abberton, who I can't see. Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to say too much about this one because, as I understand, the chair knows this area very well, and all they seem to be doing is putting a front extension right up to the wall. It's not exactly what I would want to do, but it is only quite a small house.
Yeah, I think obviously Dockroid is a quite small and almost restricted community in terms of there only being a relatively small number of properties there. I think if it's not infringing any of the regulations, I don't really have a problem with it. Any other comments before we go to a vote on this?
There are nobody showing, Chair, so you see if you can just, you can propose that.
Let's go to a vote on this then. So I'm proposing that this is accepted. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dowse, all in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Last but one, both of these are changes of use, by the way. 3 Scott Street, Keighley, so just behind the Civic Centre. Change of use from existing offices to a bar, A4 sui generis, in other words, the general category, if you like. Any comments on this? Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm in favour of this. It's bringing into use one building that's been closed for a while, and it's next to the, I think the Liberal Club, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, somebody's wanting to do something, investment in town. I think it's fine. Personally, it's good.
Okay. So, any other comments on this before we go to a vote?
Got Councillor Dowes, Councillor Adams, and Councillor Abberton.
Right, in that order then. Councillor Dowes.
I'm in agreement with Councillor Akhtar, no problem. I think it's good for business to keep bringing things into disused buildings.
Thank you. Councillor Adams, sorry.
I would concur with both councillors. I think it's a great idea. Good use of these empty buildings.
Yep. And Councillor Abberton.
Can't wait. Really can't wait for absolutely lovely beers and being with the gin palace on Low Street. Fantastic. Yay.
Okay, agree. I say to the change of use. Proposed by Councillor Abberton, seconded by Councillor Akhtar. All in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
And thank you for your patience. The last one, 210874, the bungalow, High Spring Gardens Lane. Change of use from residential to children's residential home, including replacement of garage door to front with window, installation of new window opening to rear elevation, replacement of existing patio door to rear with a window, and new escape stair to rear. Councillor Abberton.
Sorry, this is in my ward, and I have absolutely no objection to this whatsoever.
Okay, any other comments?
Councillor Adams, Chair.
Oh, and then Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest if there was no other comments to make, could we go to the vote, please? Because time is moving on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Councillor Akhtar.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to know where exactly is this on High Spring Gardens Lane? I can't sort of recall where it is.
Back to Councillor Abberton.
It's on the corner of View Road and High Spring Gardens Lane.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's quite hidden, actually, Councillor Akhtar. It's quite hidden, but it is there. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So if we're minded to approve this one, can I have a proposer? Councillor Abberton, I'll second. All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favour, Chair.
Against? Abstentions?
Just the one abstention.
Okay, thank you. That completes that. Thank you very much for your patience. I will get on with this as quickly as I can. Section 2 applications granted. These are merely for noting, including some quite detailed stuff. Section 3 applications refused. 25A Bradford Road there with the lack of parking, which was a comment we made. Section 4 applications withdrawn, again for noting. Other planning matters, none. Item 7, delegation of comments on planning applications. Again, those are as stated. Pre-application consultation decision, we have already dealt with that. Well, I haven't, but 9, planning appeals, appeal by Mr. and Mrs. Morn, land adjacent to 2 Stocks Hill Close, East Morton. Again, I think, Mr. Clark, this is just for noting.
It is, Chair. It's just to let you know that they've appealed. It's just for noting.
Okay. Town plan for noting.
Yes, please.
Okay. And date of next meeting will be held on Tuesday, 23rd of March, 2021 at 6 o'clock. Thank you all for your time.